Hey everyone, this is your local friend, psychic medium, Sean Michael Rutherford. Hope y'all are all having a great day. Today's discussion is going to be on the topic of a very interesting discussion point. Two, actually. Things I want to discuss today are misunderstandings, misconceptions, and misinformation on two major topics. One, witchcraft. Two, spiritual wokeness. Okay, so in spiritual wokeness, I'm going to discuss a couple of different topics in this broad idea. And I'm sorry, I have hair in my face and I can't seem to get rid of it. I'm going to discuss a couple of things in spiritual wokeness. And you are more than welcome to watch or not watch. Because we may be busting some bubbles, we may be popping some balloons, and we may be sharing some new information here. If you're into this, stay tuned. So, first off, I have been studying the occult, and when I say the occult, it's mystical information. When you look up the word occult in the dictionary, it generally represents mystical or pagan information, spiritual information, and knowledge and wisdom. Occultists in the past were not necessarily witches or pagan. They studied the mystical arts. So we see occultists in history who study actually Judaism, who study Christianity, who study Hermeticism, a lot of different practices actually. And we get the word occult because it really just represents mystical and spiritual information and wisdom and knowledge. And so occultists tend to be much more along the path of knowledge and wisdom and reading and academia. So when I say the word occult, know that I'm not talking about worshiping the devil. I'm not talking about dark magic. It is one of those misconceptions. Witchcraft. So witchcraft is the term used for those who practice a tool, which is called witchcraft, in order to harness and use and manipulate the spiritual energies of earthen bodies. For instance, using herbs, stones, candles, water, the elements, fire, storms, all kinds of things like that sorry, my eyes are dry, to harness natural energy. So we hear people who are Reiki masters, we hear people who are shamanic healers, we hear people who are spiritual healers. These people are channeling and connecting to spiritual energy that comes from God or gods or whomever they worship or the universe in general. When we think of witchcraft, we have this idea due to movies and misinformation that witchcraft connects to the devil or evil, and that's just not the case. Now, widespread media in today's day and age has really helped debunk that for a lot of people. However, there is still a large portion of people in this world with the best intentions who are loving, wonderful people who just don't understand and know how witchcraft and mysticism really works. I'm so sorry, my eye over here is having a dance party because it's just dry in my apartment. Witchcraft is not a religious practice. Witchcraft is a tool, much like a hammer is to a carpenter or anything else anyone else that uses a hammer. It's a tool. It is a practice. It is a skill set. It's a knowledge. It is knowing that angelica is good. Angelica, which is an herb, is good for healing. It's knowing that rosemary is good for memory. It's knowing that Rose oil is good for love and warmth of the heart. It's a knowledge basis. It's an educational tool that lumps in the spiritual practices of those who choose earth-based healing and earth-based connection. It is a beautiful tool for a lot of people, and not everyone is drawn to it. I have been drawn to it in my life, and I love using energies of all sorts, so long as they are of love and light, to help people heal. And I don't believe in turning down one force of energy over another, so long as it is of love and light, to help people heal. Because it would be like a doctor going to medical school, learning about all these medications, and saying, well, no, there's only one medication that I can give out for an infection. I can only give out azithromycin for medication. I cannot give out penicillin. There's multiple medications for a lot of things, and when it comes to healing in the world we live in, there's a lot of different applications out there that someone can find and use to aid in the healing process. And I don't believe that one is necessarily better or worse than the other. I pray, I meditate, I do practice witchcraft, and I say that witchcraft, making sure you understand there's no stigma behind it. I practice witchcraft. It is a tool that I use in helping others heal and helping people have bright, happy, joyous lives. Every witch that I have ever met, a witch is someone that owns the title of witch and practices witchcraft, whatever their religion may be, practices witchcraft. And they use that witchcraft to raise their vibration and connect to the universe that they connect to. And every witch that I have ever met has been a beautiful, wonderful person. And I've met some witches who are Christian. I've met some pagans, some witches who are pagan. I've met witches who are Jewish. I've met witches who are atheist, actually. I've met witches of all walks of life. And the beauty of it is that witchcraft really can work with anyone, but it is something that you have to practice. It's something that you have to learn, it's something you delve into. It's something that you educate yourself on. Because just like a doctor who goes to school and learns how to use medicine, a witch learns how to use nature. I myself, when I do consider myself a witch, I do love the term witch. When I was a kid, I started around 14, 15 finding witchcraft, and I was very interested in the interconnectivity of all things. I loved that plants had spiritual connection. I loved that stones had spiritual connection. I loved that oils had spiritual connection. And I found beauty in all of this because it was all designed this way, in my opinion, by gods or the universe or whomever. And to help us reconnect with our soul and the divine and everything that is beautiful and magical out there. And some people may not like the word witch. I've met plenty of people who practice but don't consider themselves a witch. And that's perfectly fine too. A witch is not a bad term at all. It's just a term. It just represents someone who practices witchcraft. And I consider myself more a mystic. So a mystic is someone who takes all the spiritual knowledge, who goes through their training, who learns all these mystical, magical forces, right? And uses it to raise their own vibration and reconnect their soul with the divine. And for me, my spiritual practice and my spiritual life has always been about self-discovery, understanding myself very, very, very well. Because I know that I experience things in very odd ways, and I've known that my practice has always been about understanding my soul. And so as a mystic, we go inwards. We take the world and we pull it into ourselves, and we use it to understand ourselves and our lives better. In the process, on the way to understanding ourselves, we help others. We experience people and their lives and their experiences so we can better understand what we would do if we were in their shoes. And as a mystic, everything I do is about understanding others so I can understand myself better and reach a sense of enlightenment, reach a sense of oneness with the divine. And that's my personal journey. So I consider myself a mystic. But I still practice witchcraft. I still practice medium. I am a medium. I do practice mediumship. I do consider myself an overall just spiritual person. I don't have a religion, so to speak, but I do believe in God. I do believe in multiple gods. I do believe in oneness with the universe. I believe in omnism, which is the idea that all spiritual practices and religions are right to some degree. And I believe that all people have the right to believe and worship and practice whatever makes them heal themselves and others to the best of their ability. So when I work with these forces, for instance, like I made these candles today, I work with herbs, I work with oils, I work with energy, I work with prayer, I work with crystals to produce something that is of the utmost healing that I personally can produce. Because why would I neglect herbs when herbs have very strong healing properties when they're sitting there at my disposal? Why would I neglect prayer? Why would I neglect candles? Why would I neglect these amazing tools that allow me to be the best healer that I can be? God is unlimited, and God made us in their image. And if God is unlimited and we are made in the image of God, then we should be unlimited as well. We should live unlimited. We should live without the idea that one thing is better or worse or right or wrong over the other. And granted, good and love and light is what we should practice and live in. But as human beings and as spiritual beings, we shouldn't live a limited life. We should live a life unlimited if we are truly to reconnect with our divinity and our souls that are made in the likeness of God. And that is whatever God you believe in. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to believe in one God over the other. I have a specific God that I believe in, and I call them universe because I believe in multiple, and I work with multiple deities. And so I call them the universe, or I call them God, or I call them source or spirit. And I believe that I work with nature and Mother Nature and the earth. It's why certain things to me are so painful and so sad. Watching the Amazon on fire pains me because I see this beautiful natural source of oxygen and life and fertility and beauty, and it is under destruction right now. All I can do is pray and trust that everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to, because I believe that everything will work out the way it's meant to. Because my practice as a mystic has taught me that when I trust in the universe, things work out. It's harder done than said. Much easier said than done. But it's what I have. And so witchcraft is basically a tool, pretty much just a tool, used to manifest and produce the life around you that you desire to live. Do you desire to live a life of happiness and joy and wealth? Use your tools. I know Reiki practitioners and masters who perform Reiki on themselves every single day. That is no different than smudging yourself with sage or enveloping yourself in white God light. There's no difference whether I put 2 crystals in each hand and sing Amalamala. Whatever works for you, whatever works for me, whatever works for everybody. Witchcraft, though, is a specific tool. It comes with the requirement of understanding a lot of different things. Understanding astrology, understanding numerology, understanding herbs and colors and candles and crystals and oils, and how, for instance, take rose. Okay, rose petals are used one way in magic and witchcraft, and rose oil may be used a different kind of way because it's two different types of rose. And so this needs to be understood. Rose petals provide a more lasting, earthy energy in your spell work. So if you are, say you have a wonderful relationship and you're trying to make you and your partner have a beautiful romantic anniversary, and you want to make sure there's a lot of love in that house. Well, I would use rose petals crushed up in a candle and burn the candle, and as the rose infuses into the wax, that wax, as it burns, spreads that rose energy throughout the house. But I might anoint my palms, my wrists, and my neck with rose oil, because rose warms the body and induces a sense of love. Now, if I wore rose petals, it might do the same thing, but the warming of the oil on the body induces this sense of lovingness. And when your partner gets home and you are feeling already more loving and open to love, and the house is filled with the energy of love because of the burning of the steeping rose petals in the oil, in the wax of the candle, you're creating an environment of romance and beauty. There's a reason why roses were always used for love, because in mysticism and in witchcraft, they're used as tools of love and romance and sexuality and sensuality. There's different kinds of colors of roses, though. So I wouldn't use a yellow rose. I would use red rose. Red roses for passion and romance. Pink roses are for cuteness and puppy love and sweet love and kind love. And yellow roses are for friendship and platonic love. White roses are for peace and purity. And there's artificial colors. You can kind of get a peachy, orangish color, which is for healing and gratitude and apologies. And so there's different colors of roses. And so in witchcraft, you have to understand, well, do I use a red rose for this or do I use a white rose? And these are the things that you learn in studying witchcraft that helps you keep up with what you're doing. You're using the specific living energies inside these herbs and these plants and these components that, as they exist, vibrate and put out into the work that you're doing. There's no difference between witchcraft and a Reiki master or a Reiki practitioner or a healing touch practitioner laying hands on someone and channeling energy from a higher source. Excuse me. Because roses are beautiful, perfect flowers, and their energy has been alive for thousands and millions of years. And they have channeled all this energy from nature, which is a very powerful thing, because nature has been alive since the dawn of time. And this planet has been alive since the dawn of time. And it has been here and has survived asteroids and fires and explosions and volcanoes and people. And it has gone through so much, and it spins in the cosmos. And it spins around this beautiful sun that shines its light and charges the earth with so much energy. Everything living on this planet is charged with sun energy. And at night, when the moon comes out and it's full and it shines its white light on the earth at night, that moon shines its beautiful radiant energy upon all things as they sleep. And as they sleep, they soak up that energy. And when they blossom the next day, they share that energy with the world. And so in witchcraft, we learn how to use and harness that energy the same way a Reiki master or a healing touch master or a spiritual healing master learns to harness the energy of God and channel it through them. witchcraft is a beautiful, beautiful tool. And please understand, when you hear the word witchcraft or you hear the word witch, it is not a derogatory. It is not meant to evoke evil and negativity. It is a beautiful, beautiful word. And it is very misunderstood, and it comes with a lot of misconceptions. And it is something that, while you may not believe in it or you may not understand it, is not something bad and not something that you should be afraid of getting to know and understand. You are not required to practice it. It would be like someone who's Christian being friends with someone who is Jewish and attending a Shabbat dinner and attending a Jewish festival. You don't have to be Jewish to support people that you love who are loving people. You simply have to be respectful, and you simply have to have a sense of want and desire to understand. I've met many, many people at, there's an event coming up called Pagan Pride Day. And Pagan Pride Day is a beautiful event where people get together and discuss their witchcraft and their practices. You have druids, you have witches, you have hoodoo practitioners, you have voodoo practitioners. All these people who do wonderful work with the right intentions, and get together and just embrace being here on this floating rock that's hurling through the universe and understand each other's practices. It's beautiful. And so I wanted to discuss witchcraft because at my core, I've spent 17 years studying it and understanding it and learning more about it. And I don't think anyone can ever master witchcraft. You have masters and experts out there, but there's always something new to learn and explore and understand. And that's one of the beautiful things about it. And so know that if you hear someone's a witch, you hear someone practices witchcraft, it is not... Can y'all be quiet? I am on Facebook Live. Excuse me. Rude. It is not something to be afraid of. It's not something to judge harshly. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. If you ever have any questions about witchcraft, which is understanding this practice more, you are always welcome to contact me and message me. I love having these discussions. Please know that I only ever practice in love and light. As a mystic, I'm here to help people heal. I'm here to raise people up out of darkness and into the light of the universe, so that way we can all find ourselves enlightened and embrace that advancement of our souls. So that is the topic of witchcraft. So the other thing I really wanted to get into and discuss is this idea of wokeness. Okay, so ever since I was a kid, I've experienced very spiritual things. I used to see spirits in my house when I was a kid. Everywhere I'd go, I'd feel intense energies. I was always a very empathic child. As I got older into my teens and I started understanding spirituality and witchcraft, I learned what it was to be empathic and be an empath. And I started understanding these gifts more. And as I got on the journey of understanding spirituality and my place in it, I started to awaken. I don't like that term. I started to find connection and purpose in all of it. But in no way whatsoever has it been easy. When you take on the role of being an aware person who is aware of the connection between man and God, and man and the universe, or mankind or womankind and the universe, you take on a bit of responsibility of being somebody who promotes the wellness of not just yourself, but those around you. And this, of course, doesn't happen to everybody, and it's varying degrees. But I knew that I was meant to be a professional psychic medium healer, that I was meant to do this on a very professional level, on a widespread level. I knew from very, very young that somehow, I didn't know exactly exactly all the details, but I knew to some extent my life was going to very strongly include spirituality. And when I became 16, 17, and I started doing readings, and I started to learn to read tarot, I learned it even more, that my life was going to be even more responsible. When I first started doing readings, and I started really, really hitting them on the head, I realized right then and there, I was like, oh my God, okay, so I'm really going to be doing this. I'm really going to be somebody people come to for answers and help and healing. And I could have run away from that. I could have run scared. I had the option. I chose not to. I chose to take on the mantle of being a healer, or being there for people, because I always knew that I was supposed to. And I was okay with it. I was more than happy to do it. But I also understood that my life was going to be difficult because I truly believe that for most of us who do what I do, we have to go through a lot of hardships. I was going to cuss, but I'm trying not to do that. We have to go through a lot of hardships because in order to understand others and understand every person who sits before us, who sits across that table or is on the other end of the phone call, we have to understand deeply what others are going through. It's why I believe I lost my mother the way I did. It's why I believe my life has dealt with a lot of abuse and a lot of pain. I've had a lot of clients who have had abuse in some way or another. Mental, physical, emotional, sexual. I've experienced them all from clients. And I've experienced every type of abuse. And so I feel that on some level it was my soul or my subconscious or whomever wanting to understand the person who is receiving the healing or the help from me. That way I could truly give them genuine, helpful, healing advice and true connection from spirit, right? And so my life has been very hard. A lot of difficulty, a lot of hardship. Bad? No. Hard? Yes. At times, very ugly. Very ugly. And here's what I want to get into. I'm not a fan of people, and I'm not judging them. I get it. I get why they do this or why they have these experiences. But I'm not a fan of the misunderstanding of what the spiritual journey is. It is not beautiful and painless and easy. It's not waking up one day, going to a store, seeing a crystal, and oh my God, I'm woke. It's a lot of learning and understanding and examining the self and crying and going through intense emotions because you're connecting not just to yourself, but to all the people in this world. You're connecting to animals and plants and areas and spaces and places. You're connecting to source. You're connecting to God, your loved ones, your ancestors on a much deeper level. And if you're choosing to go through this, being very real and being very honest about it is important. It's very important. Because that honesty is what's going to get you through it. That realness is what is going to produce a very strong sense of connection, a very strong oneness and centeredness within yourself. I can't tell you, I've had multiple dark nights of the soul. I've had, kind of going through one right now. I've lost both my parents. I have never had a strong family unit. I've seen friends come and go. I've seen people not understand me. I've gone through so many things. And by no means do I wish this on anyone. But it's not... Taking on the spiritual journey is not going to music festivals and smoking pot every day just for the fun of it, and getting a tattoo of the Metatron's cube. It can include those things. There's nothing wrong with those things. But it's not just those things. It's intense understanding of the self and the intense understanding of others. And it requires depth and strength of self to truly wake up to your true spiritual potential. Everyone has the ability to do it, but some people think that it's an escape from reality, when being spiritual is delving deeper into reality, delving deeper into the world that you're in, and questioning the pains, the sadness, the hurt, the joys, the experiences, the excitements, the devastations. Being a truly spiritual person is welcoming all of that. And if you find yourself avoiding all of that, you have to ask yourself why. Why am I not allowing myself to feel all of these things? Why am I using the term spirituality as an escape from my pain? Because let me tell you, if you were to choose to turn around and face that pain, you would find more spirituality in 5 minutes than you would in a year if you avoided pain. And I'm not saying that you should go seeking pain. I'm not saying that I've ever looked for it. I'm saying that I've embraced it every time it has found me, or that I've run across it. And I am no way saying that what you're doing and that your spiritual practice is wrong. I want to make sure that you understand that if you find yourself not having the deepest, most real experiences in your spirituality, that it's perhaps that you are not embracing the spiritual journey as much as you could. And yes, spirituality can be a beautiful escape from what's going on in this world and the sadness and the pain, as long as it's healing to you. As long as you understand that you can't sweep that pain under the rug and then expect it to be gone because you ignored it by playing with crystals all day. You're not a cat. Spirituality is not a cat toy. If you embrace it, it can heal and it can solve the pain and help you remedy it. But you have to genuinely embrace it. You have to truly become one with it. Now, for those who have depression, for those who have anxiety disorders, those who are those who have PTSD, those who have, who have things that they see doctors and medicate for, there's nothing wrong with medicating. There's nothing wrong with using your doctor to help you. Spirituality can help with that too. And I'm not saying that you should use one or the other. You should use both. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use spirituality to vacation away from the hardships in life. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that if you want to have a genuine, real spiritual journey, and you want to be somebody who is truly spiritually awake, if you want to use that term, it can't be fluffy and silly. It has to be real. It has to be authentic. It has to have, it has to be grounded in the self. And that can be painful and that can be hard. And one of the other things that it can be is ugly. So, spirituality and spiritual things and things in our lives, let's not even just talk about spirituality here, life and living can be ugly. Child, some things in our lives they felt like they fell out the ugly tree and hit every stick and branch coming down. Wow. So take the fact that I'm going through a bariatric journey, right? So I have my first appointment September 26th, 2019. And I mentioned in my post that it's going to be, at times, very ugly. 'Cause it is. It's life. I am changing if not one of the biggest, it is the biggest, no pun intended, parts of my life is my weight. I have been chubby and fat since I was a child. And I have never, I've never been thin. I've never known what it is to be thin. Or I don't remember a time when I was less than 350 pounds. I mean, obviously, when I was 5, I was not 350 pounds. But I don't really remember being 5. As far back as I can remember, in my early mid-teens, I was 350 pounds. And I've always been very active. I used to swim every day. I used to go up and down stairs. I would go to the mall. I was quite active. I got a job working at a telephone company call center. And I found myself sitting every day for a year and a half. And I became really lazy after that. And I'm not a fan of it. But I did. I gained a lot of weight. I ballooned up to like 450 and 450. And so, I mean, it just, my life changed a lot. And ever since then, I've really never been able to gain back my energy level. And life and things and depression and anxiety and sadness and all of those things ballooned me, caused me and aided me in my laziness, allowed me to balloon up all the way up to 560. And I lost a lot of the weight. I lost some weight. I mean, for me, 40 pounds is a lot of weight. I went from 560 to 520, now at 525. And I lost 40 pounds doing various little diets. And I couldn't keep losing. I always plateau, which is why I'm getting the weight loss surgery, is because no matter what diet I've done since I was 10, and I've been on all of them, at some point my weight loss just stops and nothing seems to kick it back into gear. And I've been to dietitians who said the same thing, like, we don't know why he stopped losing weight. And I think it's because I was told by a psychic one day here in New Orleans, actually, when I was 22, she said that I was meant to be fat in this life so that I would stay longer, because I had a bad habit in past lives of experiencing everything that I was meant to do, doing it all very, very quickly, and then leaving. Dying and then moving on. And so she says, you're fat in this life because you're meant to stay and stay grounded and not go anywhere. And I don't think I was supposed to be this big. But so I've tried everything I can to lose weight, and it's just not, it doesn't, after a point, it just doesn't work. And at my size, it's very hard for me to exercise due to knee issues and my back injury. I also find myself, I have really bad migraines, and when I work out too hard or too much, my migraines get really, really bad. And when in my teens, I had a couple occasions where I blacked out because my migraines got so bad. And so I just have physical health ailments that make me afraid to work out too much. My back injury being one of them. I have a slipped disc, and so I worry that if I slip that disc too badly, what happens if I become paralyzed because I worked out too hard, you know? So I want to get this weight loss surgery to lose some weight first and make it easier on myself to exercise. But it's an ugly journey because at times, because it's emotional, it's painful. I'm completely changing the biggest part of my life, which has been my weight, which is a lot. And I've had people, and I know they say it with love, and I have no offense whatsoever taken, but it brings up a good topic for discussion, is this idea that something that is spiritual and helpful can't be ugly. You know, I had someone comment, I've had people say that, you shouldn't say it's going to be ugly. It's going to be a beautiful transformation. And I'm like, you're right. It's going to be a beautiful transformation. But there's a period when I'm wrapped up in this cocoon and I'm just a nasty mush of stuff. That ain't so pretty. That's not so pretty. And it's okay for something to be ugly. It's okay for something to be difficult, because we need to stop putting value to something being beautiful or ugly. Ugly doesn't mean value. It's a texture. It can be sharp. It can be jagged. It can be gritty. It can be sticky. It can be slimy. It can be so many different things. Ugly is a texture. It's not a value. Beautiful is a texture, not a value. And we need to get out of that idea, that ways of thinking, because saying something is ugly but not valuable is wrong, because something that is ugly can change who you are, and it can make you into something magnificent. I mean, we all love butterflies, but not many people really appreciate the beautiful ugliness of a caterpillar or a worm, and people love butterflies but freak out when they see caterpillars, and they're not the most beautiful thing in the world, but butterflies are gorgeous. But a butterfly wouldn't be a butterfly without being a caterpillar first. And so if you're going through your life and you're saying that everything's beautiful and everything's pretty and yada, if you're not having those ugly moments, you're not living in honesty. You're not living in truth, because some of the most amazing, life-changing, miraculous moments are ugly. Me losing my mother was ugly. Whew. Ugly. What I'm going through now with dealing with my dad's home and my dad's property now that he's gone, and trying to wait on death certificates and deal with secession stuff, it's ugly. I hate it. It brings me I don't hate it. I don't hate anything. It brings me so much stress and anxiety. Like the other night, I had a hard time sleeping because I just kept thinking about what I need to do with the house and sell it and everything, and it's just brought so much stress, and it's ugly. Like crying ugly, like the ugly cry, like an ugly cry. The kind of cry that you don't even show your loved ones. Like, how everybody has that person that they say everything to? Yeah. An ugly cry that you don't even show them. That's an ugly cry. So, to wrap everything up, to summarize and go back and make sure everything's been discussed, witchcraft is a tool used for the learning and the healing of those who choose to practice it. It is not evil, it is not bad, and I implore you to learn to understand it better. You don't have to practice it, but learn to understand what it truly means. And spiritual wokeness, it's not easy. Becoming spiritually aware of the world around you and your place in the world and what you're meant to do and your purpose is not easy. And it certainly isn't always beautiful. It is hard and it is ugly at times. At times. Overall, it is a beautiful, miraculous thing. But it's something that has to be understood deeply, firmly, and centered within your being. If you have any questions about understanding witchcraft or spiritualities, you can always contact me, or the beautiful lady who just commented, who I know quite well. Her name is Debbie Jeffries. She is a wonderful priestess of the Beehive Coven in here in New Orleans. They are some of the most beautiful, wonderful witches I have ever met, and they are some of the most loving people I've ever met. And if you have any questions, there are plenty of people like Lindy at the Witch Depot, and who is part of the Beehive Coven, the people who put on Pagan Pride Day in New Orleans. They are all open and welcoming for questions and helping you understand what it is to be a witch and witchcraft. Like I said, they are genuinely loving people. I'm trying to be a genuinely loving person. It's up to you to decide that. I believe I am, but I'm not going to sit here and make any egregious statements. Love you too, Debbie. Spirituality is understanding the world around you and how you play a part in it. If you live by the idea that the universe and God is unlimited, then why do you limit yourself? Because if you were part of God, then you too should be limitless. This has been another episode of Chatting with Psychic Sean. If you have any questions or you'd like to get in touch with me, feel free to email me at Sean.Rutherford27@yahoo.com, or go to my website, psychic-sean.com, or you can contact me through my Facebook page, facebook.com/Psychic Sean. I love hearing from you. It is always a pleasure. And remember, let's always keep it in love and light.